Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and yes, talking more about the situation in Cuba and a little bit about what life is there like. You know, some people have this fantasy, especially on the left, lots of these new age commies or college commies actually in the United States have this idea about the wonders of communism. They have their Che Guevara t-shirts and have no damn clue what these people are going through, the kind of life people under a communist regime have. And giving everything going on, giving people, fighting for their freedom right now in Cuba, trying to stop the regime and, being detained, disappearing, being taken away by people in civilian uniform or civilian clothing. Man, it's getting tough. But I want to do a video specifically about what is it like to live in these places. What is it like to live in Cuba? So you sometimes come across people that have these fantasies about how great life in Cuba is. I mean, I've even talked with people that have gone there and just try to educate you about the wonders of communism, the great things they've seen. I had a wonderful time in this great hotel. Cuba is clean, it's safe, everyone has fantastic education, lots of doctors, cheap or free medical health care. What's the reality of all this? Well, let's actually take a look and see what this is all about. This is a school in Cuba.
Pioneras por el comunismo.
These little kids are saying pioneers for communism will be like Che Guevara, okay?
Es el lema de la organización de pioneros José Martí que muestra el espíritu internacionalista de las más jóvenes generaciones.
This is the internationalist spirit of the younger generations. They want to globalize communism. And their idol is this nutcase, this murderer, Ernesto Che Guevara, right? And I'll tell you that this guy mainly got the recognition that he has, or the fame that he has, mostly because of that picture. A picture that made the guy like an idol. In reality, a savage murderer, a coward by all means. This is the guy that would brutally murder and torture people that stood against him or just didn't go along with his own personal agenda. Now this guy, Che Guevara, always the same damn picture. If it wasn't for this picture, this guy would have gone down in history as nothing. Because some guy got a somewhat good picture of him, he's now idolized. And it's like a religious figure for communism in Latin America, in other parts as well. In reality, a complete idiot, a complete lunatic that died like the coward he is when he was faced with real opposition, people that actually could fight, gun him down like the scumbag that he is. But in a place like Cuba, he's idolized like a god. So they have the kids with a uniform. You see, they have like the little Che Guevara beret with this commie star there. They try to, and it's all over the place, all over Cuba. There's this same damn picture of Che Guevara all over in different forms and formats, but it's basically the same thing. And what they feed these kids is absolute and complete lies. Because he was good and gentle, that poor little girl says. Because he helped children. Because he shared his things. You know what he shared? Bullets. That's the only thing. And it was not that he was sharing those either, because he was probably not even capable of sharing that. January 1957, in his diary in Sierra Maestra, he writes that he shot Eutimio Guerra because he was suspicious about him passing on information to the enemy. I ended the problem with my 32 caliber pistol to the side of his brain. His belongings are now mine, he says. So it's interesting this. Look at how his possessions are now mine. I stole from him. I took from him what used to belong to him. I took his life. Now I take his belongings, right? And then it goes on. He shot Aristidio, a farmer. He shot a farmer and expressed a desire to leave the rebels when they moved on. And he asked himself if this victim of his actually deserved to die or not. Was he sufficiently guilty to deserve death? But he didn't hesitate when it actually came to shooting the poor man, and he actually shot Echevarria, the brother of one of his comrades, but by no specified crime committed at all. He just said he had to pay the price. So he just executed people. He was actually quite sadistic as well. He had like false executions, so with the empty gun shooting on the empty chamber on people's heads as a torture mechanism. Complete absolute scumbag, but idolized in these places, in Cuba specifically, like a damn saint.
Posible llegar a ser como él.
Sí podemos seguir el ejemplo de Che y todas las cualidades.
So we can follow the example of the Che,
Porque él fue un hombre honorable y hay que seguir su ejemplo.
because he was honorable, and we have to follow his example. The lies, the brainwashing going. These little kids think that he was generous, he was kind, he helped little children. Not he was a complete piece of shit, which actually he was. No, that is a lie that these kids are fed in Venezuela. So whenever they talk about the fantastic education that they have in Venezuela, look at the crap they have to deal with. And besides that, the level of poverty, of misery, of absolute lack of everything, basic stuff, the things you take for granted, even like a piece of soap, for crying out loud, food. The kind of humiliation that people in Cuba are often forced to endure, it is terrible. This is the jineteras, those would be the prostitutes in Cuba. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is there's prostitution everywhere. Sure, there's prostitution everywhere. Fantastic. It's not all the damn same. Poverty is not the same. It's not the same to have a poor guy in Switzerland than a poor guy in Cuba. It's not the same thing, all right? So this is key to understand. These people, these women often, they just go out there and do it for food, because they really would not eat if they cannot get a few bucks so as to actually put some food on the table. And banging tourists is often one of the ways in which they find to keep on living. All right. So there's a huge difference between having options and, as an adult, choosing a certain path, which you can disagree quite a bit with, and I would have I believe very strong arguments so as to make a point of, you could probably find something else to do with your life, something better, something more gratifying, something less denigrating, and something even financially much more suitable than doing this. That same argument is a lot harder to make in a place like this, where very often these poor women are forced because they really don't have any other choice. Some women find it, but in a place like this, with this kind of same thing in Venezuela, and anyone that is now doubting and saying you have to be in that position, it's not the same thing to criticize people from the comfort of your home in your developed first world nation, where you can just have any kind of option that you want, and you do even the slightest bit of effort and you find ways to make a living. Different when a majority of the population is literally starving to death. That's another scenario. That's quite different. But the thing that pisses me off the most is people that have actually gone to this place and they cannot stop talking about how damn wonderful it is because they spent time in a nice hotel, or they toured around and they saw some of these old cars. Look how interesting. You know what? They have old cars because they have nothing else. And most of those old cars are there for your own gratification, for your own entertainment. Same with these poor women that get exploited.
En este bar de La Habana Vieja hay una pareja de turistas que se divierte con esta mulata.
There's a few tourists having fun here with a jinetera, a prostitute over there. But the thing that pisses me off the most is this gentleman right here, an old Argentine having fun in Venezuela at the expense of these people. So I spend all night with a 20-year-old. I have her in my house.
Oiga,
Anyway, disgusting old man, complete bastard, 67-year-old man.
Se la di por el culo. ¿Entiendes? 30
25 euros, $30. And he has her living in his home pretty much like a slave, I would assume, because he pretty much disposes of her all the time. He keeps her in his own house.
Lo que pasa que tiene que tener 18 años.
And this is where it gets really... If this was not bad enough, here's where it gets even creepier. He says, I've had them up to 15 years of age. So he's an old pedophile exploiting the poverty in Venezuela, in Cuba, in this place, right? I've had her up to 15. Yeah, have you slept with 15-year-old little girls? Yeah, man, he says. So these are the kind of people that will lecture you about how fantastic a place like Cuba is, how much of a great time they spend there, how it's better than the United States, how it's better than most civilized first world nations. Because these are monsters. They take advantage of people like this. They, for people like you, like me, you see poverty around you and you feel empathy and you feel bad for people in that position. Not this old son of a bitch. He's going to be happy for that. He's going to be happy that he's surrounded by poverty. And he's going to be, $5. Here you go, little girl. $5, $10. Buy something to eat. Buy something to wear nice. Take some food to your house. And he's exploiting that reality, okay? And this final video I want to share with you guys, this is from an old militant in Cuba.
Y que me escuche el mundo. Yo era una come mierda que creía en esto.
So she admits that she was a scumbag. She says come mierda, which is like crap eater. Pretty much, admitting her past as a
Tengo una nieta que tiene un mes y medio.
as a communist communal leader for most of her life. Now, as a very old woman, she admits how wrong she was and all the damage.
Hija de mi hija, una mujer enferma de lupus, que no puede dar pecho.
So she's explained that her daughter now is sick, lupus, she cannot breastfeed. One of the things that people don't know, if you're too hungry, if a woman is too hungry and poorly fed, she will not be able to feed a child. She will not produce any milk because the body, this is nature in all its cruelty, says, wait a minute, young woman, you don't have enough food to keep yourself alive. So we're going to be making sure that you survive this child. You don't have enough calories in your bodies as to produce milk to keep this baby of yours alive. So this baby of yours is going to be dying, you're going to be surviving. That is Mother Nature in all its glory and in all its cruelty as well. That's simply the way it is. Nature does not care. You're going to be surviving, the baby is going to be dying. You're not going to be making any milk because you're not ingesting enough calories. This is the kind of life we're talking about in Cuba, in a communist regime. Whenever anyone talks about the glories of socialism and communism and all this crap, this is the reality of it. People that cannot even
La leche
breastfeed.
del día primero se la tiene que tomar el día 11. De estúpida.
So she's explaining how they're being given milk. So they go to a hospital, I assume, in Cuba, and they explain that the mother's not producing milk, maybe because of this sickness that she was explaining, usually also because of the hunger, which is also very much a reality over there. And they're giving a little bit of milk for the baby. And the milk they're being given for the day 1 is actually intended to be used on day 11 because there's simply not enough of it.
Gobierno, para que el gobierno autorizara.
The government has to authorize that they're going to be giving you milk. This is the wonders of communism.
La lechería a vendérmela.
So the government authorizes the store to sell you the milk. I mean,
El gobierno me contestó que le diera la leche agua para que me alcanzara.
and the government is explaining that they're gonna be giving her watered down milk. It's milk with it's a lot of water with a little bit of milk. It actually tastes like water, because that's actually most of what it is. And that's the crap that they're giving little babies that cannot breastfeed in Cuba. And this is a woman that she was part of this. She was part of the regime. I don't have the same sympathy for people that suffer this and don't take part as the one that does, right? I think there's two classes of people. Either you're part of the problem or you're not. If you're part of the problem, my sympathy is going to be a lot more limited. So for most of her life, this woman probably enjoyed the benefits of being part of the regime in her own position. So she basically goes on lamenting her situation. She shows that she has no teeth left, and that basically what we already know, guys. This is the kind of stuff we know. It just seems that way too many people don't get this. I mean, you didn't know that this is the reality of living under a communist regime, that this woman at age 80 is now lamenting and regretting. You know what, lady? Honestly, a bit too damn late. For way too long, for your entire life, you've been part of the problem, not part of the solution. And now you're realizing that you're being discarded like trash, because that's what they do with people. Probably that's what you did as well with people back in your day when you were in that position, and probably benefiting quite a bit from that little bit of position of power. This is very typical in Latin America, same thing. The different, it's called in Argentina, it's called like punteros políticos, like the chief of the party in that neighborhood, in that block. So the local leaders that are going to be amassing people, they're taking you to rallies, making sure you show up. They have the list. You're getting benefits. You're not. You're getting your money. You're not. I'm still keeping some of it for myself. I benefit from all this nonsense, all this crap myself. And that is the way it runs in many places in Latin America. The more to the left it is, the more this happens. And, they think they're, taking advantage of others. Sure they are. What they don't realize is that they are slaves themselves. They're enslaved to the regime themselves. And they're just being handed a little bit of breadcrumbs, a little bit of pocket change for you to survive just a little bit better than your neighbor. But in reality, your daughter is not even giving milk for the baby. The baby has to be drinking watered down milk. And the mortality rates are probably through the roof, all concealed, all hidden, all lies, all bullshit. As it's always the case with these comments, it's all lies. The wonders of communism, this is it. Woman that hasn't even got teeth, for crying out loud. And sure, you may be thinking, well, dental is expensive. Sure it is, but you know what? This is not how people live in developed countries. In developed countries, people don't live this way, right? And she was unfortunately part of the problem for way too long. So anyway, guys, I hope people have a great... Honestly, I don't think it's going to be ending up too well, because they're going to be cracking down on the ones that they were, voicing their opinions and rising against the regime. I hope they do. I hope they have success. I think it's going to be quite hard, but at least it's encouraging to see people finally say no to all of this and say no to communism. And I hope that more people take notice. Folks, if you're interested in all of this stuff, of course, I have my books there below. Street Survival Skills would be the more practical stuff. The Modern Survival Manual for surviving economic collapse. And for a lot of this stuff that a lot of people in Cuba ended up doing, bugging out and relocating, moving to better places, the kind of thing you probably want to do before you end up living like this woman, depending on where you are in the world, okay? You just never know how things are going to be turning out. We like to assume that our reality will never be like this. Life has a way of surprising you in ways you just didn't expect. So guys, be as well prepared as you can. This is all very much important for survival and preparedness. Look at how these people live. Let me know if you don't think that this is related directly to survival and preparedness. Damn, I sure think it is. See you in our next video, folks. Have a great day.